Halfdan Pedersen. Pedersen. We're sitting in a room in a new pizza place that opened in Reykjavik. It doesn't have a name yet. Yeah, been open for about a week, and the name will come when when we are ready, I guess.
Like naming an Icelandic baby.
Yes, exactly. No rush.
Could you tell us a little bit about where you studied in the US and what you studied?
I studied in Los Angeles in film, a small school called Columbia College. It used to be in Hollywood, but it moved to Tarzana. And I have a BA degree in cinema, but I basically studied directing and screenwriting and everything but production design, which is where I ended up. Yeah, I mean it's essentially the same thing, doing you know, production design for films or interior. You're creating a space and an atmosphere, but in film it tends to be, you know, you learn to do things more. You need to give things texture, and the story takes place in space, so you need to do work on, you know, a spaceship, or it's a 100-year-old western or something. So you kind of learn things, you know,
yep.
to do things that interior design world are maybe not accustomed to. You know, the odd, so the odd solutions. You know?
Yeah. One of the things that struck me coming here is that knowing that the objects were mostly from the United States. When I came in here though, I felt like you've created an Icelandic atmosphere in here with objects from the US. Do you have any thought as to how that kind of happens? It feels very uniquely Icelandic even though the objects are not from here.
Okay, well that's a new angle. I'm not
because it does not feel to me like any restaurant I've been to in the US.
Okay, yeah. Oh, I mean maybe because the house itself is like a, you know, a bit of a Scandinavian feel with you know, support beams being visible and the shape of the windows, or I don't know, I'm not really sure.
Well, I guess when I say that, I don't mean so much that it feels like traditional Icelandic, but kind of it has this sort of quirkiness of some modern Icelandic design sense or something like that. Okay. I'm not quite sure what it is. But it doesn't really feel American to me either, so maybe it's someplace in between.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm
someplace over the North Atlantic.
I'm happy to hear that. I think that's a good twist. It's always good not to, you know, have, you know, a certain stamp, you know.
Yeah.
People are able to kind of put their own, you know, critique on it. Yeah. You know, or label on it.
Right.
So we just wanted to have it feel like a home to someone, and with a little twist, in a little odd home, if you will, a world traveler, you know, maybe someone, a weird uncle that that nobody in the family visits because he's too weird to you know. But yeah, that was kind of the rough, you know, the basic idea, just to, you know, make it homey and cozy with hints of someone's living there, you know.
I think you've succeeded in that.
Thank you.
So how did you go about finding the objects that we have here? It's such a strange collection of objects. Where'd you go to find them?
I went to the east coast of the United States, as I've done on several occasions. I used to live in America, so I'm a flea market pervert, if you will. I like to go to these places, and the idea of never knowing, you know, what you could find. It could be something extraordinary. Just the curiosity has always driven me to do that. Many of these places aren't even flea markets. They're not actually, you know, sometimes they're just abandoned huge houses. And,
okay.
And you get to kind of rumble, and you put on a headlight, and your worst clothing, and you stay in there, you know.
That sounds like
for
a lot of fun.
Just, yeah, it is. I mean, I like it. It's not for everyone, but I really like it.
Okay. Do you also do yard sales?
Anything where I could, you know, possibly find auctions,
yeah.
yard sales, abandoned houses with, you know, authority to go in,
Yeah.
not breaking and entering anywhere. So yeah, basically anything, and sometimes, you know, in the yellow pages people are moving and things like that. And it's funny, when I stay there, if I stay in one place for a certain amount of time, it's such a small world, this scavenging place in each town, that the word goes around. You know, I've actually had a note slipped under my door at the hotel when I woke up, and just handwritten on a A4 piece of paper, you know, "Psst, I hear you're looking for these kind of tables, you know, give me a call, I'm Roy," or something like that.
So people know the Icelander is in town looking for strange things.
Yes, and I'm buying it in bulk, you know,
Yeah.
filling a container, you know, so it's
Okay.
very funny how
Okay.
the word spreads around quickly. There's not a guideline on how to do this, you know. This requires, you have to be a little bit insane to, you know, to fill up a 40-foot container in 10 days. With some, you know.
You did all that in 10 days?
Yes, this time around, for this place I did.
Yeah.
And that's ridiculous. The days are like 16 hours, 17 hours every day, and no sleep.
So here in this place, do you have one or two objects in particular that when you found them you just thought, wow, this is fantastic? Or once you got them back here to Iceland, you found that it just worked so much better than you had expected?
Yeah, I use wallpaper basically in most of the places that I do. I'm not much of a fan of paint. It's too flat, basic. So I like things to have texture in them. This wallpaper is all piano rolls from you know, self-playing pianos. Basically the first CD, if you will.
Yeah.
You know? Or so there, you know, each roll is one song, and we bought 100 rolls, and they're probably, you know, somewhere around 100-year-old. The color is nice, and you know, don't really know what it is, but it has a nice kind of a texture to it.
So when you saw them, did you immediately get the idea, or did it take a little while for the idea to come to you?
No, that was pretty much right there,
Right there,
you know,
yeah.
solid, yeah.
Nice.
I think one of my favorites is, if I go back to your earlier
Yeah.
question, but it hasn't got to do with anything we found, it's what we made, the ceiling,
Yeah.
which, you know, pieces of plywood, made it to strips and then chopped down to these little tiles, and each tile with hand, carved on 4 sides.
That was a lot of work, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a lot of work on all floors.
Yeah.
This is, you know, so it's about 20,000 tiles that they manufactured. They didn't like me very much after the first week. It took them about 8 weeks to do this.
Oh my god, wow. So finally then, in terms of some of your observations about the differences in approach in terms of execution of design in the US versus in Iceland, what do you think? How are things different here in terms of how people implement design?
I mean, it's a massive difference, and we tend to have, like, for a film work, for example, a huge film production will have in my department, which is art department, 3 people executing a big, you know, a big film, and they will have, you know, 60 people in the stage. So everybody fills, you know, many roles here, and you know, very spontaneous. There's a saying, you know, "Vi mössum þetta," which is "let's go," you know, without a plan, basically. We bulldoze through it, and but everything's very calculated in the States, and I think, I mean, it's much more comfortable work environment than it is here.
Do you think the fact that people are here in Iceland, that one person is doing many different things, do you think that that leads to a kind of creativity?
I do, absolutely. It means that pretty much everybody has a saying in things that are being done, you know, and Iceland is an extremely rich in art, ridiculously so, I believe.
I would agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean it's just surreal. I think the amount of films and literature and places, you know, artists in general that are living here. So I think it's a very efficient way the way things are done here, but it only goes so far.
Yeah.
You know.
So you can do a little bit more with a low budget here, though.
Yes, absolutely. It was a low budget film, and you know, it was not an option to go out with a camera and a cameraman and a director and myself to do some pickup shots. It required all the 10 trucks to follow, you know, and just having the Evian water at you know, close by if needed, you know.